Welcome back to the Sports Management Podcast. This episode is sponsored by Insport Education and their new online course, The Foundation of Sport Business. With course modules delivered by sport business experts at companies like the NFL, the Football Association, and Formula E, the Foundations of Sport Business course equips you with everything you need to know to get on or accelerate your career in sport. And for you listeners, I have a great deal. With the code Sports Management Podcast 10, you will get 10% off the course price. Click the link in the description below and sign up to the course today. Now, let's kick off the episode. Welcome to Sports Management Podcast, where you will hear interesting sports management professionals share their stories, experiences, and passion for the sports management industry. I am your host, Marcus Philipson. Today's guest is Pakistan's own Jerry Maguire, Arsalan Shah. He is the founder and CEO of GAME, Global Athlete Management Experts, representing top athletes in Pakistan. In this episode, you will learn why the field of sports management has huge potential in Pakistan, why you should learn what not to do rather than what to do, more of Arsalan's best advice for people with aspirations in sport, and much more. Arsalan Shah, welcome to the Sports Management Podcast.
Pleasure, Marcus. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
It's hot here in Karachi. Otherwise, all good.
Yeah, I'm in Gothenburg, Sweden. We have 30 degrees Celsius here, which is very warm for us, but guess that you are a bit warmer than that.
I'm based in Germany. Germany is my second home.
Oh.
And I'm flying over there in next 20 days, in fact. So Germany, Pakistan, they're two different poles. Pakistan is way hot and Germany is way cold. But anyways, yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely weather over here. Summers is awesome.
I'm glad to hear. So you are the founder and CEO of GAME Sports Management, an agency that does everything from contract negotiations to financial planning and post-career counseling, etc. So can you just tell me a little bit about the agency and what you do there?
Okay, so GAME was basically founded back around 11 years back. The concept of GAME was, the name GAME stands for Global Athlete Management Experts. Unfortunately, in Pakistan and the subcontinent, sports management is not a celebrated field. There's no proper degree. So I was always into management. I was into branding. I was into advertising. I saw that gap in 2008. And luckily, the first client which I landed was the biggest one possible, the great Wasim Akram, the legendary Wasim Akram. And ever since, there has been no looking back for myself. So GAME brings on an experience of around a decade. And it's not only me, there's a whole team behind us which works to make these celebrities look good, to make grassroots level players into celebrities. We teach them how to talk, how not to talk, how to perform in front of camera, how to perform off field. What you do on field is important, but what you do off field is much more important these days. So that's what GAME does. GAME actually negotiates their contracts. We represent them. We make sure that it's a win-win situation created between the client and the player as well.
That's very interesting. And yeah, you mentioned contract negotiations, and I said also financial planning and post-career counseling. What else are you doing for the clients outside of their sport?
There's a lot more that goes into this. When you say sports management, it's a huge field. And if I may tell you, let's take an example of a regular player, who comes from the streets or the suburbs of Pakistan or say any country. These guys are not ready to face the real media. They don't know how to use their basic social media tools. They don't know about correspondence. They don't know about liaison. They don't know what their market price is. That's where people like us get them on board with us, and we kind of represent them. Everything what we do is based on trust, and we make sure that our player looks good. We guide the player what to say in front of camera, what not to say in front of the camera, what to eat, what not to eat. We literally draft their tweets. We literally give them in writing, the phrases which they have to learn. We tell them how to dress in public. Because you see, most of the players, if you talk about cricket, they're coming from rural areas, not very well-off people. They play without shoes from the very grassroots level. So once they come up from there, there's a certain level they come up to. And then after that, they need someone like us. I'm not saying myself came, but there are many other sports agencies in Pakistan now which have popped up after Pakistan Super League. Pakistan Super League is one of the biggest sports platform Pakistan has now. It's the world's second biggest league after IPL, and our players are doing wonders. By the way, not very good in the match against England recently, but overall they're doing good.
I'm glad to hear it. And it's so important counseling these athletes early when they are young, because nowadays fame comes very early.
True.
But is there a risk? You mentioned, for example, you draft their tweets, you tell them what to wear. Is it a risk that everyone is the same and you are losing out maybe a little bit of their uniqueness? If we see, for example, let's take mixed martial arts, Conor McGregor, he's very unique in himself. He speaks freely. Is it a risk that you might lose that?
No, not at all. Basically, we assign an account manager to each player, and that's how it goes by. For example, we have MMA fighter with us as well. We have cyclists with us. We have swimmers with us. We have badminton players with us. We have squash player, the known Esamul Haq Qureshi, the top seed from Pakistan. Cricket, fortunately, unfortunately, is a celebrated sports in Pakistan. Cricket, everyone follows cricket like a religion over here. Other sports like football, soccer, it's huge in the rest of the world. But in Pakistan, if it's out of 100, it's 90% cricket, 10% other sports. So we actually don't differentiate between our assets. That's what we call them. We call them assets because, you see, making them look good makes us look good, makes us look professional. And touch wood that the players which we have been with, they have been with us for well over a decade now. It's a service industry, my friend. And whatever you do for them, it always comes back to you. You have to be at the top of your game, the top of your, performance, because they have to perform on field. We have to perform off field. So there's a lot of liaison that goes in and out between the player, ourselves, and the agencies which are out there and the brands. So coming back to your question, there's a lot more to what is there in front. It's not only their clothing, the way they tweet, and we don't give any preference to anyone. Unanimously, it's the same because for us, we believe in the psyche of less is more. We don't have hundreds and hundreds of players. I can say that, from Pakistan, we represent the top 40 to 50 talent. And that's it. We want to cap it to that because we want to give that extra service to everyone.
Yeah, I think that's very important. This is what you said. It's a service, and also the trust that you mentioned. Also, it's very important. Obviously, cricket is the big sport in Pakistan. And you mentioned some other sports there, mixed martial art and cycling. But except for cricket, which other sports would you say are most popular? And are you representing also these athletes?
Oh, yes, I do. I represent, for example, cricket. I represent the top tier of cricket. It's Wasim Akram, the legendary name, the greatest fast bowler. Then we have, apart from cricket, Jahangir Khan, the greatest ever squash player the world has seen. The guy who won 555 matches on the trot, undefeated, undisputed. He's a legend, and I am fortunate that I work with him. Sohail Abbas, the legendary hockey player from Pakistan, with over 300 goals. He still holds the record of the highest goals anywhere in the world. So Sohail Abbas is with me from hockey. Hajra Khan from football. She's the captain of Pakistan football team. Kalimullah, the captain of Pakistan football team. So all these guys, they have been working with us for ages. Fortunately, unfortunately, what happens is it's how the brands look at it. If you take my 2 cents on it, it's basically how the economy is going. Everyone tilts shifts to cricket, and that's where the money is. And if you talk about other sports, the magnitude goes very low, very low. If a brand is spending, say, 100 million on cricket, they're not even spending 1 million or 0.5 million on rest of the sports. That's an irony in Pakistan. But slowly and gradually, brands have started realizing. Local brands, beverages, they're coming up with street cricket. They're coming up with street football tricks. They're coming up with futsal. They're coming with short matches. They're coming with short squash matches, badminton matches, table tennis matches, not on the federation level, but more on a street smart level. For example, I'll tell you, one of the best players we have in e-gaming is Arsalan Ash. Arsalan Ash is a phenomenon. This guy is a champion of Taken 7, and he has taken everyone by storm. But unfortunately, in Pakistan, gaming arena is not that big. So that's why Arsalan Ash is not where he should be, in my opinion. He's a legend, but because the market, the industry is so small, he's not appreciated or brought up the way he should be.
Speaking of esports, it's an interesting field generally and a sport that is rising right now. But you said it's not very popular in Pakistan, but can you see that it has potential?
Oh, it has huge potential, my friend. Red Bull is the main sponsor, if I may name the sponsor. They because Red Bull again is not based in Pakistan. It's a global company. They understand the potential of the players. They understand where these guys can be. And Arslan Ash has made Pakistan proud on not only domestic level, in fact on a very big scale globally. Arslan Ash, if you go out, everyone knows him in the gaming industry. Having said that, when you talk about any other sports, Olympics, for example, I wouldn't want to say that, but you see, there is lack of ownership. There is lack of ownership. That is where companies like us want to come in the front. We want to pick our player, take it to the brand that, this is what we have. This is the guy or the girl who's going to make you look good. Invest on this chap. But fortunately, unfortunately, we are very myopic. When we are very myopic, we don't see what's going to happen 5 years down the line. We don't think it through. We just want to do it, project wise. Okay, let's do it for 2 months, and then we are out of the project. And unfortunately, that's not the right way to do it. You have to invest in your athlete. You have to invest in a grassroots level. You have to have at least 10-year vision that if we start with this child, we have to make this child go in the top 10 or say top 100 of say squash, tennis. And that's how it is done normally. But in our part of the country, unfortunately, that's not the process.
I understand. You mentioned that you have also a home in Germany. So are you having also athletes from outside of Pakistan?
Yes, I do. We actually work with a lot of companies based in the neighborhood, in India, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. We have very good ties over there. There are lots of broadcast assignments which we do on regular basis. When you talk about sports management, there is not only this part, there is a lot other to it. Broadcasting is there, syndication is there, article writing is there. Then you have interviews, you have appearances, you have a lot more that goes except what you see on the ground, on the field. That's what we do. For example, I don't represent people from India, but I keep getting them assignments abroad. I don't represent people from Bangladesh, but since I'm tied up with a firm in UK, what we do is they ask us, Arslan, can you get us XYZ person? I said, yes, not a problem. Kapish, done. So that's how we do it. It's more of a family. It's more of a platter that we manage. And if you need the person, you come to us, you say, Arslan, get this person. I say, okay, game will arrange this person. That's how it is. That's the market practice.
You said that the sports management industry is not so big yet in Pakistan.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. So what would be your best advice for a young person in Pakistan who wants to pursue this career?
Dude, they should come in. They should come in. We are a cricket crazy nation. They should definitely step into it. We should not go for shortcuts. We should study what it is. The biggest problem, it's not advice. I'm not that senior that I give out advice, but my 2 cents on this would be that, don't go for shortcuts. Use an innovative route. Your cousin, your friend, your uncle's son is and cannot be your manager until unless he or she has proper experience or a written degree. If he's not certified, he's not good to be a manager. So you need to trust the right people. And once you trust the right people, they take you up. It's upwards and onwards from there. And I've had long case studies from Pakistan only. People, why do they trust me? Because I have been trusted by the big name, for example, Wasim Akram or say Shahid Afridi. They're the biggest cricketers in Pakistan. They're legends now. So it's not about paperwork. It's not about contracts. If you've seen that movie, you must have Jerry Maguire.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, show me the money. So it's all about making sure that your trust is there. It's not a one-to-one agent-based relationship. It's more of a family relationship that you share with them. You should know what they're going through, what their problems are, why are they not performing, why are they performing, what is needed, how to motivate them when they're down. When the chips are down, you need to tell them, do this, don't do this, invest here, don't invest here, take up this project, don't take up this project. And that's where the trust factor creeps in. And once they start trusting you, that's where that bond is formed. So the advice or my 2 cents to all the newcomers would be: do not go for shortcuts. Make sure you come through the right channel. And if you want it, you will get it. It's very easy. With YouTube, with all these platforms available, just write to the player. I'll be frank, just write to them. Do you need any help? Do you need any assistance? Can I be of any help to you in any possible manner? Every player is looking for proper management, and try to grab them from the grassroots level, from the very bottom tier, because that's where the trust level starts building up. And since sports management is not very new in Pakistan, there's a huge gap, huge gap. What's happening now is, for the past 5 years, post PSL, past 6 years, people have started coming up, and they have started studying. And now I can say that we have around good 3 to 4 sports management companies which are out there, which are doing good job. For example, I'll quote Dean Ahmed, Fine Edge Cricket, the guy, the top bloke sitting in UK. He's awesome. Then we have Talha Assam. He's awesome chap, Saya Corporation. Ameem Haq, the agent Haq, he's doing great job. So these guys have been there for the past 5, 6 years since PSL came in, and they're doing awesome job. So the market is slowly, gradually coming up. But again, having said that, the player, the asset, needs to keep their eyes open. They should not trust every Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes up and says, "I can do blah 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 for you." And they do not have to go into. I'm not a big believer of contracts. There is no point of bogging down someone with paper. That one piece of paper cannot make you perform. You have to be good at what you do. Your skill set needs to be in place. If you are good, you will perform well.
I think that's great advice, and it seems like there is a lot of potential in Pakistan for sports management here going forward.
There is indeed.
This episode is sponsored by Insport Education, the online business school for sport. They offer a range of different courses, for example, Foundations of Sport Business, Private Equity in Sport, and much, much more. As a listener to this podcast, you get 10% off all of their courses using the code SportsManagementPodcast10. Click the link in the description below and sign up today. Our next sponsor is ExpressVPN. If you, like me, are tired of not being able to access different Netflix libraries in your country, or watch sports games not available in your country, then ExpressVPN is for you. All listeners of this podcast get 3 months for free when signing up for a 1-year package. Visit tryexpressvpn.com/sportsmpodcast to learn more. You can find the link in the description below. In the second segment, I like to get to know the guest a little more. You actually started your career, if my research is correct, as a news anchor.
You have done your study on me. Oh, okay.
So how did you go from there into sports management?
Okay, that's an interesting question. I started off my career as, yes, a news anchor. Not a news anchor, actually. I always wanted to come into media. So I owned a software house back in 2003, and I was making good money. So I had a list. I literally had a list of things that I wanted to do. One of them was news anchoring. I always wanted to, read out news out loud on a channel. So I owned a magazine by then. I owned a software house and I owned a magazine. Once you have a magazine, your PR becomes very good. You get to know people, you get to know brands. And I was offered somewhere that, come over for a cup of tea. I don't know, they liked me over there. And I said, yes, I would love to do newscasting. And next thing I see was me sitting on that channel. I think I did it for 6 months and then I got tired. I wanted to move on. Then 2008, I had the magazine. Everything was good on the roll. 2008 saw that downfall, the slump, the big slump, the recession. And I lost a lot of amount in Middle East. I invested a lot over there. Then actually for a brief period of around 1 year, I went in my shell. I went in a shell and I saw what can I do? What's missing? So in that 1 year period, I saw that sports management is something which is not being done by anyone else. I plunged into it. So that's where, the whole story of from being an anchor to a publicist to a guy who owned a magazine and a software house, I landed as a sports manager.
That's very interesting. And you mentioned that you owned multiple companies. And I also saw that in one point in time, you were the media and PR manager for Wasim Akram that we mentioned earlier, the cricket player. You were the founder and CEO of the app Cedo and simultaneously doing your CEO at Game.
Yeah.
How do you find the time?
Okay, the easy part over here is Game is a parent firm. And then you have people like Wasim Akram, Shahid Afridi, Shoaib Malik, and all coming under Game. And they're account managers who are looking after them. So time is one thing which I do have on my plate all the time. These days, everything is on mobile, so I don't have to run around. The liaison is normally done on emails and WhatsApp, and Zoom is the best option. So I don't have to rush everywhere. And it's easy now. With technology, I always use technology in my favor. And that's what I think people should be doing now. We keep technology on the back foot. We should be relying on technology. We should be using it in a very positive manner. And fortunately, unfortunately, Pakistan is around, in my opinion, 5 years in reverse gear. Pakistan is 5 years back as compared to the rest of the world in terms of technology. So that's something which we are improving. We in the recent times, Pakistan during COVID, in fact, Sido was one of my startups. Sido was a tailoring platform, and I just asked my friend that let's do this. This sounds interesting. The guy said, "Why not? Let's plunge into it." So Sido is doing good. Apart from that, you must have heard of cryptocurrency, Binance.
Yeah.
We work on that. We have launched the coin of Mr. Wasim Akram. A couple of other news are coming. I cannot tell the names right now, but there's some big news coming as well. So it's all in a day's work. In a sports manager's life, it's all in a day's work. Appearances, agendas, talk sessions, motivational sessions, on-ground practices, gym sessions. Everything is a part and parcel of the day.
It seems that you like to keep busy.
Even if I don't like to, I have to.
I understand. Since you got into sports management, do you have a background in sports yourself as a player?
Oh, yes, I used to play for my university, Zabis. I was the captain over there.
What sport?
Cricket, squash. Being from Air Force background, my father's from the Air Force. So Air Force families are known to have all the facilities. So I was the top guy when it came to squash till the college level. Then cricket obviously is in our blood. Cricket is every evening from 4 to 6, every Pakistani kid plays cricket or football, or they're basically out of the house. They have to do something, and that's what they do. So for me, I am very fortunate that, for someone like myself, it was a dream come true to actually rub shoulders with these big guns. I remember I was around 10 to 12 years old when Pakistan won the World Cup, and Wasim Akram was the man of the match. And I remember shouting out loud from the window of my house that Pakistan has won, and Pakistan Zindabad. And now myself, I'm with Wasim Akram all the time, or with Shahid Afridi, or with Jahangir Khan. So these are our idols. We have grown with posters of these legends on our walls.
Yeah.
And being with them every day in, day out, that's a dream come true.
I'm glad that you have found your dream job.
Yeah.
But I guess like in every business, there are bumps on the road. And you mentioned the recession in 2008 and so on. So what would you say have been the biggest bump on the road in your career, and how did you overcome it?
There have been many. We land with clients which are not trustworthy. We have been defrauded for a lot of amount. And all what we can do is step back and make sure that due diligence is done for every project we do. And that's something which I have learned out of experience. I would say I'm not qualified, but I'm half lawyer because we read so many contracts day in, day out that, we need to go by every point, by every clause. And if you ask me, I think it has been smooth sailing till now. It has been smooth sailing. And touch wood, COVID has hit the whole world in a very bad manner. But things are getting better slowly and gradually. So I think this has been the biggest bump, but it hasn't hurt us, like the sports fraternity, in a negative manner. People have came closer during this time. They have understood the values now. They have understood the values of family. So if I answer your question, I don't think so. There has been any downfall except the 2008. And, it's always good to fall once in a while to realize that you're not above anything and you need to stay up on your feet and you have to run. It's not about the race. You have to run to race with yourself, to keep yourself fit. One advice if you ask me, I would go back to the advice question. Do not go in a rat race. That's a killer. Marcus is doing his job. It's his skill set. I do what's my skill set. So I should not be bothered. That's what happens these days. We are too concerned at what the other person is doing. Why is he doing it that way? I think just focus on your goal, go for it, achieve it, move to the next one, do what you like. Don't think of, what my mama will think, my papa will think, blah, 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 blah. Keep everything on a side. Do what you want, do what you like, literally you will end up doing what you love and you would be loving what you do.
I think that's great. Approaching the end here, is there something that I haven't asked you that you feel is important to mention?
In principle, I think the sports management fraternity is more of a family. There should be more events, like, for example, Olympics. Olympics brings the world together. I think we should have more events now, because for the past 2 years, everyone has been, the morale is low. You have to lift your inner person. You have to make sure that you stay alive. Basically, that's the best. That's the best you can do in this time. Stay alive, stay healthy. And if you ask me what you haven't asked, the whole thing is a struggle. You don't have to stop. There is no point stopping. And if you did something 5 years back, it was 5 years back. Bygones are bygones. Move on from it. Move on. Don't get stuck. Don't, think about the past. Past is gone. Move on. Think of a new goal. Focus on it. And whatever you do it with full heart. Half-hearted efforts are never good. You will always be uncontented. You will never be satisfied. Do it for yourself. Do what you like. And I don't think so there's anything that can stop you. Just go for it and you will get it.
I think you should start also a motivational speaking company, because it's a great advice here. The final question is, if you could choose the next guest on this podcast, so someone from the sports management world, who do you think that I should talk to?
I would 100% recommend this guy, Dean Ahmed, Fine Edge Cricket from UK, top bloke.
I will look that up. Arsalan Shah, it was a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you so much that you wanted to be a part of the Sports Management Podcast.
It was a pleasure, Marcus. I loved it. Whenever needed, I am there for you. Just let me know, give me a buzz. I'll arrange everything for you. If you need any help, at your service.
Thank you very much. And if the listeners wants to reach out to you, do you have Twitter, Facebook, etc.?
Yes. It's unanimously the same. It's Arsalan H. Shah, Arsalan H. Shah, Shah. And if anyone wants any advice, they are more than, I'm more than happy to help them. Just reach out to me. I'll be willing to help you. I'll be willing to assist you. I'll be willing to guide you. And one thing is, I would tell you what not to do, because that is more important than knowing what to do. Everyone can tell you what to do, but not a lot of people tell you what not to do. So I'm here for you guys, always.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to the Sports Management Podcast. Please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. Also, feel free to leave a comment about what you thought about this episode. If you want to get in contact with me, send an email to sportsmpodcast@gmail.com or hit me up on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram @sportmpodcast.